And welcome to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Hypnotist. I'm a business growth expert who help business owners grow and scale to create wealth and freedom. Today, I have an awesome guest. His name is Paul Ross, and he's on a passionate mission to help entrepreneurs, professional salespeople, sales leaders, and business owners skyrocket their results through the power of subconscious communication. He's an author, speaker, master hypnotist, master trainer of Neuro Linguistic Programming, and the host of the Influencer's Edge podcast. Welcome, Paul Ross, and thank you for being on my show.
Thank you. And you can see from my shirt, I'm also a crazy cat guy.
I love it, mate. Yes, my mother-in-law is crazy cat lady type of thing as well. I counted, she has little cat figurines, and she has over 70 of them all over her house, which is very interesting. So
that is more than crazy. That's wackadoodle.
That's it. I grew up with cats, but we've got a dog now because I think both my wife and I never had them, so we wanted to go something different. But I love animals all the same. Cats and money. I love the t-shirt as well there. So you are a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us more about you and your journey.
Sure. So what I never tell the host, because I like to spring it at you and watch your response. I didn't start out as a sales trainer or any of that. I started out as a pickup girls guru and someone who taught men how to go on the pole. Do you have that expression there in Australia, or is that just a British expression, to go on the pole?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I understand it. Not as widely used, but I understand what you're talking about. Yes.
I taught men how to pick up women using Neuro Linguistic Programming. I was a very skinny, ugly, lonely guy who couldn't get a woman and couldn't get any in a woman's prison with a fistful of pardons. And so I learned NLP, and I recognized, wait, I could use this stuff to help myself, help other guys. I built a whole career, a multi-million-dollar career off of that. And then about 2006, Ethan, I started to get Ethan, I'm so sorry.
Ethan, mate, all good.
Ethan, that's fine. Ethan, I started to get emails from students saying, attached is a picture of my wife and my family. Thank you so much for giving me the skills to meet her and woo her and seduce her, frankly. And I've been using your stuff for sales. I've increased my sales 300%, or I'm the top of my sales team. I thought, hey, dummy, why don't you go learn how to do this for yourself and apply it? And through the course of that, over 10 years or so, I developed this system that I call the subconscious sales advantage. And the basic idea is to capture and lead the imagination, the emotions of your clients and prospects by bypassing their conscious filters and going directly to the subconscious mind, where we know we make most of our decisions. We don't make decisions based on reasons, logic. We may partially do so, but for the most part, we make it for emotional decisions and for unconscious beliefs and reasons. So that's essentially, fundamentally, what I'm teaching. How do we bypass the conscious stuff? It's very hypnotic. It's not hypnotic in the sense that you're waving a watch, but it's hypnotic in the sense that it's covert and it's addressing the subconscious mind.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. I love that. Really, really powerful. And I love this topic because, obviously you're a master trainer. I'm a master NLP practitioner. So I love NLP. And there's a lot of power in it when you understand this. And I know that you're getting amazing results, with the power of subconscious communication, in terms of, increasing sales, by 30% or more in 90 days. So firstly, for the people that maybe are new to this, right, can you explain the concept of subconscious communication, and its impact on sales?
Well, first, let me lay down some basic principles. And you'll notice as we continue to share together, and I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, all the points you might stop and feel a growing fascination about what it is you want to learn more. But as that's taking place, I think it's just so interesting to notice how you really want to listen to me. So anyway, did you hear how I embedded hypnotic commands and all sorts of things? The first idea I want to convey to you as I disconnect the dots and take your hand and assist you in coloring outside the lines, is that you're never selling your product or service ever. You're always selling decisions and good feelings about decisions. That's the first major paradigm shift to take in your thinking. Now, from that flows the idea that whatever you can get your prospects to imagine for themselves will be perceived by them as being their own idea, and they won't resist it. And from what flows from that is, since decisions and the imagination and the emotions arise from the subconscious mind or unconscious, I use the terms interchangeably, I am a hypnotist, then it really will benefit you to learn how to communicate with the subconscious mind directly rather than accidentally. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah.
Those are the basic principles from which all the techniques distill out.
Awesome. I love that. So powerful. So let's get into it a bit more, right? And I guess it goes both ways here, right? With the subconscious mind, because there's maybe some signals that we should be aware of as well when we're like looking at people, because everybody's a little bit different, right? In terms of what they're doing and how we're communicating with people as well. So is there any sort of subconscious signals that we should be aware of when we're having these conversations around sales?
Well, I like to look for focus. Do I see that they're virtually not paying attention to anything around them but me? Their hands aren't fidgeting, their pupils are a little bit dilated, their facial muscles will flatten as they go into a bit of a trance. Understand this, whether it's sales, politics, advertising, seduction, the currency of influence and persuasion is focus. The problem is nowadays your prospects don't have any focus. Let me turn off my stupid filter so you guys can see what I'm about to illustrate. So there's my actual sloppy office. All right. Nowadays, your prospects don't know how to focus. So this is now your number one enemy to your sale, not your competition. This is your competition. Nowadays, people have the focus of a goldfish. So you have to create that focus quickly. You have to create it with deliberateness, and you have to create it artfully and skillfully. How do you do that? Because if you can't, let me use a metaphor. This is not a trick question. If I have a sheet of gold foil and if I have a sheet of cardboard and I want to conduct an electric current, which one is going to conduct the current, the gold foil or the cardboard?
Gold foil.
Not a trick question. What's that?
The gold.
Exactly. So consider your prospect state of mind, their emotional state, to be like that foil. Do you want them in a cardboard state of being unfocused, bored, not trusting you, even more importantly, not trusting themselves? Because, by the way, know, like, and trust is no longer enough. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. Know, like, and trust is fine, but you also now have to get your prospects to trust themselves, because your prospects no longer trust their ability to make a good decision. And for good reason. They can't focus long enough to make a good decision. They're bombarded by too many options, and they've been numbed out and dumbed down by social media and the regular media at large. So you have to be able to deal with this problem, and no one else in the sales world is talking about it. So how do you create those states of focus, of believing in you, of trusting themselves, and seeing you not just as a helpful teacher or salesperson, but as their leader who they feel compelled to follow? I don't want to get rapport only as far as possible as it leads to compliance. The thing I'm aiming at is compliance, getting them to comply. Rapport could help or it could get in the way. So I'm throwing a lot of ideas at you for us to unpack over the next few minutes or however long you want me to share my brilliance and unparalleled wisdom with you on your show. You see, I'm not modest. And yeah, does any of that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting, the concept of not wanting rapport and potentially getting in the way compared to compliance. I think that's a very interesting topic there. So do you want to
have to break rapport?
Yeah.
Good. You often have to break rapport. May I give you an example?
Definitely.
You have to break rapport and even shock your prospects sometimes. let's say someone says to me, I need more time to think it over. My response is not, well, tell me, what is it you need to think over? They may not know, or they may not feel I've earned the right to be told. Instead, I'm going to say, I understand. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever taken a long time to think something over and it still turned out to be a horrible decision? Then I'll shut up and they're going to go inside and think, oh, yeah, he's right. Maybe it's not about time, but about the clarity you need to recognize a great decision's being made. You see, so I interrupt the pattern, I shock them, I break rapport. When you break rapport, when you create shock, when you interrupt someone's pattern, you create a temporary window of suggestibility through which they can be led. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
And then once I've done that, I redefine it as not about being about time, but about being about clarity, which implies, well, what does that imply? It implies that once they get clarity, of course, they're naturally going to buy. Of course, it's a great idea. Of course, it's a great product. Of course, it's a great deal. They just haven't gotten clarity from about it yet. And that's my job to help them with it.
Yeah.
Do you
I
see how
love
this works?
Yeah, I love that. Very powerful. It's yeah, breaking the pattern is so key because people can get stuck in their stories because they just think normally about things and then the embedded commands and things like that to lead them where you want to think a better way. And I think that's generally like mindset things generally, but then especially in a sales environment, is important because yeah, too many things going on. So I love those key distinctions because that's really actionable, right? In for people, for what they're doing, that's different. That a lot of people are saying out there. So understanding, I guess, the psychology, right, of all of this, is important. So because it's not just that's sort of when you're coming to an objection, I guess, which we can talk about more shortly. But I guess leading up to in the sales conversations is important too. What happens before the sale, right? There, because that's really where ideally you won't get any objections or very few of what you do there and how you use the subconscious language and communication to get to that point. So do
Sure.
you want to talk a little bit more about those elements?
Sure.
It's more important.
So
Yeah.
I use what I call implied relationship words. I think there are 5 of them, maybe 4. I'm a little tired. You're the third big interview of my day, including a 2-hour guest interview that I did on a live show. So if I wanted to create trust and more than that, the prospect trusting in themselves, I wouldn't say, all right, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be presenting our new flip phone. And you'll like this flip phone because it allows you to take pictures with our super duper hidden camera. It draws 13% less energy on the battery. The sound fidelity is blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I would say instead, before we begin our exploration together today of this opportunity, now let's stop. Before we implies that we're together on the same side. Before we begin our implies, again, we're on the same side. Exploration. It's a very, very powerful word. Not only because it has a positive emotional charge, but think about this. For every exploration, there must be a follower. For every exploration, there must be a leader. And for every leader, there must be a
Follow?
follower. Exactly. So just by accepting the presupposition of the word, it's presupposing in the back of their mind, in their subconscious mind, that they are your followers, which is even better than people who trust you. Before we begin our exploration together today of this opportunity, I'd just like to encourage you to do one thing. Would you please share the questions, not ask the questions? What's the difference between asking a question and sharing a question?
It's an interesting one. Maybe you're working together in the sharing side of things.
Right, right. We don't share with people who we don't like and don't trust. Please share the questions that naturally arise when a great decision is being made. Now, I'm being deliberately vague and a little confusing there. Did I say what the great decision is going to be?
No.
Did I say who's going to be making it, or how, or why, or based on what, or when?
Oh,
No, when you're deliberately vague, the unconscious mind will fill in the blanks for you. So, in the context of me giving suggestions about trust and I'm their leader, when I say a great decision's being made, their unconscious mind is going, yeah, a great decision that I can trust this guy and I can trust myself and that I'm going to buy today. If I said a great decision to sign the contract today, that's too direct, it's too pushy. But when I leave out that bit and just say a great decision's being made, and this is the power of being vague and being a little confusing. Everyone says make the message clear. I'm here to tell you, no, no. There's a time and place to not make the message clear, to make the message vague and confusing. And again, this goes totally contrary to what's taught in traditional sales. But I was taught by my mother that if the crowd is doing one thing, the crowd is an idiot. If they're zigging, you zag.
definitely. I love that. Yeah, definitely be very different. And yeah, these pre-frames to get people into a certain frame of mind, right? As you go through these conversations or speaking to people is very powerful.
Right.
Do you want to share maybe a few more words? Because I think you shared some great ones there. Maybe are there any other things that we should or shouldn't?
Yes.
Maybe both
Yes.
sides as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I want to share what I call a trance phrase. A trance phrase is something that induces, creates, evokes, elicitates something that's very similar to a hypnotic state. And that word is find yourself. So if I said to you, um, Ethan, if I said, Ethan, I don't know if you've ever had the experience. Did you ever just find yourself reaching for the refrigerator? Did you ever and not even know why you were doing it? You just found that your hand was on the handle. Has that ever happened to you?
yes,
Did you ever just find yourself falling in love?
yes,
Right? Did you ever just find yourself driving down the highway, the motorway, or whatever you call it in Australia, and like an hour has gone by and you didn't even realize it?
yes.
Find yourself implies and creates a hypnotic state. It implies that you're not participating consciously, so you don't resist. You don't even have to participate. It's just going to happen. So if I said, as we're speaking together today, I don't know all the ways you might stop and find yourself growing more and more fascinated about what it is you're learning. But as that's taking place, you may naturally become aware of that growing sense of anticipation of learning more from me. And won't that feel nice? Now, did you feel anything developing when I talked funny to you that way?
Yeah, definitely. The the pauses, you're on the edge of your seat more, you're being more agreeable, everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some other things that I was doing quite covertly and hypnotically, giving you commands and suggestions. So that's one. Another one is discover yourself, allow yourself. They're all versions of it. A couple other words that are trancy words: imagine, picture, ponder, wonder. As you naturally imagine what it would be like to already have bought this particular item, I'm not sure all the ways you can ponder just what it's going to bring to you. But as you wonder more and more about that, won't it be nice after that's taken place and you look back, say 6 months from now, looking at today as having been the start of it? So imagine, picture, wonder, ponder, contemplate. These are all words that require an internal focus of attention. And to that extent, they're hypnotic.
Yeah, I love that. That's very, very powerful stuff there. I hope everybody's like noting these down because adding these into your vocabulary. Like I know I do some of these things, but not as much as what you're telling me right now. And I know that just, these few little things can make a massive difference. And you talked before about obviously our phones, right, are creating an issue now these days, and a lot of things, I guess, are going online. So I'd love to talk a bit more about, a lot of people are selling from Zoom as an example, right? So you're not necessarily in the room, but you get some body language, or, we can see sort of, half of their upper body, compared to like maybe in-person selling, whether that's, in an off like boardroom, or whether
Doesn't matter.
on stage.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Does not matter. Does not matter. You still can and indeed have to use commands and suggestions to create focus, to create the perception, the illusion in the mind of the viewer or participant in the Zoom that you are their leader who they can trust and that they can make a good decision. You still have to do that. The format in which you do it is different for sure. I get it, but you can still do it. Just like I did it, I briefly did it with you, and we're on a Zoom.
Yeah. Definitely. I love that. So yeah, there's the other nuances, but you still, the crux of what you need to do is still the same, which I understand. You gave an example before about overcoming an objection, right? About needing more time in that way. So do you want to maybe talk maybe around some other ways of overcoming objections that, whether it's a like a money objection or something else of things, that we should be thinking about?
I closed a $30,000 client yesterday who said to me, I told him the price, and he said, can I mull it over? I said, well, of course, it should be thought through thoroughly and clearly because it's a large amount of money. But let me ask you this. Since you respect me as a thinker and you know that I know how to think deeply, why not take advantage of the fact that you have me right here, right now, and use my ability to clarify things for you so we can see just exactly what needs to come out on the table for you to see it's safe to move forward today. So I totally took his thing of needing to think it over and made it an advantage to do it with me right then and there. Because if you just let them go away, they're going to spin in confusion and never get it clear in their head. If they had it clear in their head in the first place, they'd either give you a firm yes or they'd tell you no. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's yeah, I like that. And you're yeah, I guess you're leading them along that path, and then making it happen from there, with, yeah, working it out. So let's talk about, I guess, teams now, right? Because we're talking like if we're doing the sales here, but let's say we want to be growing our team, and it's not just us here, right? Ideally, as we're growing a business now, if we're talking about training people in these areas, obviously we're learning the key things here, but is there some certain things that we can do to make sure people are, implementing
Yes.
certain things
Yes.
online as well?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, you need to be a leader, and a leader has a few skills. Number one, the leader has to enroll people in his or her vision. You have to know how to do that. We'll unpack that in a minute. The second thing is the leader genuinely needs to be okay with power flowing in both directions. Power to be properly utilized in a way that moves people has to move up the channel and down the channel. It has to be absolutely that. So that implies that a good manager, a good team leader, has to have a way of objectively emotionally regulating. You have to be able to emotionally regulate yourself so you don't fly off the handle. And then you have to be genuinely open to feedback and not take it as an attack, but take it as a way of doing your job better. These are all complex skills that I do. So when people apply to work with me, you have to apply because you have to be doing at least $1 million a year. I won't work with anyone less than that. You have to be able to show me in our discussion that you're willing to be trained in all of those areas. And no one talks about emotionally regulating. It's not a term that's even brought up, what to say, something that's taught, but you need to learn how to do that. Because if you go into reaction or reactivity when someone disagrees with you, you're going to shut down the lines of communication at best. And at worst, you're going to create passive aggressive behavior or even sabotage. So you can take all these courses on leadership, but if they don't teach you the key skill of emotional self-regulation, it's just empty words, which is what now, because I come from a trauma-informed background, meaning that I had to train myself to deal with all these traumatized guys who were 30, 40, 50-year-old virgins, never had touched a woman in their life. That's very traumatic. And itself, it often stems from trauma. They were abused by their family or a parent. They had a brutal father. I had to learn techniques for dealing with trauma. And I had to learn to show these people how to emotionally regulate. Because if you're all over the board going every which way emotionally, you're not going to be able to pay attention to someone, what to say, attract them. And it's the same thing. You're not going to be able to get people to pay attention to you, what to say, follow your lead, if you can't emotionally regulate. So I have some proprietary, is that how you say it? I haven't had my coffee this afternoon. My proprietary methodology for doing that I required the leaders to go through. Then there's the skill of enrolling people in your vision. How do you do that? How do you do it if you're not a particularly fundamentally great speaker? Do you really need to be a charismatic Steve Jobs or Elon Musk to do it? And I say no. No, 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 no. You just have to create a state of suggestibility in your team such that they view your words as being their own ideas. So that's the skill set. That's where some of the things I teach in this book, The Subconscious Sales Advantage, I'm going to be telling people how to get a free PDF download of this. And also you can go to Amazon. I'm assuming Amazon is in Australia and you can get books in Australia. Yes, you're a civilized country. You have TV and the internet and all that good stuff. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And I'd love to talk a little bit more just quickly about the emotional self-regulation, because I think this is important, especially for men. Being myself, if I use my own, background of, bottling, especially in Australia, right? It's like, it's this mentality of just keep going on, don't worry about it, and not necessarily, expressing it or regulating the emotion, which can impact you later, right? Where it can build without being able to do that. So I think it's important. I think women might be able to do it more naturally. This is just obviously generalizations, but that's what I
Funny. It's funny. I was talking to this YouTube influencer about this.
Yeah.
And I said, you need to draw a distinction between emotional experiencing and emotional expressing. They're not the same thing. So you can experience an emotion or a series of emotions without having to express it. Does that make sense? So often emotional self-regulation has to do with being able to experience the emotion and then having control over how you express it. Does that make sense? So you experience it without suppressing, but you can artfully and skillfully express it or not express it, depending on the context. If, for example, I experience anger when a cop pulls me over, I'm not going to express disrespect to him, even though I'm feeling it, because he's got a gun and a badge and a club and handcuffs that can call for backup to kick the living crap out of me. That's an extreme example. So also emotional regulation involves what I call FID, which is taking when you have a reactive episode, an episode where you become unregulated and you get triggered, FID, controlling the frequency, how often it happens, the intensity, how much it grips you, how much it distorts your perception and drives your behavior, and then frequency, intensity, and duration. How long does the episode last? Does it last for 30 seconds or does it last for a day or a week? So when you learn to decrease all of these, the frequency, the intensity, and the duration, you're well on your way to being emotionally well regulated. That doesn't mean frozen, but it doesn't mean acting out either. You have a wonderful third choice. In between being frozen and shut down and acting out hysterically, you have a wonderful third choice. And so this is something that's extraordinarily important. And you have to demonstrate it. If you want your employees to be regulated, you have to lead from the front. You can't lead someone from where they're not. And You have to lead them from where they are. As a matter of fact, you can't lead them if you're not there currently. You go first is my rule. And the second rule is always leave them better than you found them.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And one person told me recently that when we feel the emotion, like whether it's a trigger or something like that, it really only lasts for up to 2 minutes. So if the emotion is going longer, then it's our story or it's our replaying of that continues it. Like you said, it could be days, right, or whatever, or hours on there. So it's about how to regulate quickly in that moment without allowing it to impact the rest of the day.
As my coach Jaden says, and I don't know if it's original with her, if it's hysterical, it's historical, which is a really good way to put it.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. Very cool. Let's talk about presentations now, because I think this is important, right, in the sales process. So, because presentations lead a lot of what we do, right? We don't want necessarily too much information on there, but I'd like to know your thoughts around the combination, right, of having our presentation, how some tips or things which then can impact, right, the subconscious communication in what we're doing as well, whether it's in a board meeting or 100 to 1,000 people, whatever sort of instance that is. Yeah.
Let's talk about some basic ideas. People have always asked me, I'm tooting my own horn here, but as Muhammad Ali said, if you can do what you say you can do, it ain't bragging. People have asked, how are you such a great speaker? I say there's just three things. You have to believe that what you're saying is important. You have to believe the people there in front of you must and need to hear it. And you have to believe in that moment you're the only person who can get it across to them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to have an orientation of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It simply means if you don't get the outcome, then you don't get the outcome. It's just, so what? You've had a learning experience. One of the things I've learned in studying champions is champions are interested in champion salespeople. They're interested in the sale. They're invested in their skills. So you have to have these attitudes going in. Does that make sense? And then you have to have certain things you're doing with your physiology. You have to have a relatively, please hear me on this, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have a relatively quiet mind, a mind that's relatively quiet. So you don't have a lot of chatter going on. You have to be a Zen monk who's meditated on the cushion for 25 years and has reached enlightenment, whatever that means. But you have to have a relatively clear mind. So you have to be interested but not invested, have a relatively clear mind. You have to have a physiology that's alert but relaxed, meaning you're breathing from your belly. I teach my VIPs to put 20% of their attention of their feeling on the ground. It actually literally will ground them. You have to know how to get out of the cortisol dump. So if you're in fight, flight, or freeze, and the cortisol and adrenaline is surging through your body, you need to get out of that very quickly. And there's some hacks I can give you right now. And the hacks are not cognitive, they're physiological. So one hack is to breathe in for 4, hold for 2, and breathe out for 6. In for 4, hold for 2, out through 6. The exhale is longer than the inhale. There's a guy in the 1500 BC by his name was Patanjali. He wrote something called the Yoga Sutra, and he wrote, making the exhale longer than the inhale is a way to calm the body and calm the mind. These people knew this stuff way before we Westerners ever even had a clue about it. So these are some things that you need to be able to do to prep yourself to be you yourself becoming that gold foil.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that stuff there. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more about the detachment side, because I think this is a really important point, because I see a lot of people having challenges in terms of the conversion, right? And let's say we're speaking in front of a group, whether it's a small or large group, and it gets to the point where you're pitching, right? You're pitching what you're offering, your product or service. And from my understanding, it's about that energy, that detachment on how you deliver that, which may be a little bit different to what you deliver.
I don't ever pitch. I've never pitched in my life. I only extend opportunities to receive the gift of my offer. Do you see the distinction in your thinking? Language is powerful. It structures consciousness, shapes decisions, drives behavior. I'm being in my intellectual side. You're seeing the intellectual side of me rather than the comedian or the sentimental cries at certain movies guy. So look at the difference in the language, pitching and extending opportunities to benefit from the offer that you have in front of them. I teach my sales teams, I've taught multi-million-dollar sales teams, and just this one little hack. Never again, when you're working under me, when I train you, will you ever make a cold call? And you see them all go, oh. I'll say you'll never again think of it as a cold call. It's an opportunity outreach. How many opportunity outreaches can I make today? When you make an opportunity outreach, you're no longer begging for change from someone, so to speak, metaphorically. You're no longer seeking something from someone. You're offering a gift. I teach my seduction students, we're going to go back to this, man, you're going to get some hate email. Send the hate email to me. Your hate makes me stronger. Where was I? I kind of slipped on that one. What was I talking
You were talking about offering a gift and then talking about from the seduction side now.
I teach my guys you never approach. You only joyfully offer opportunities to connect with you in fun and powerful ways, which is a completely different reframe. So you see the parallels between dating and sales. They're very closely linked. I think I'm the only person to ever really not just mention it, but to unpack it and systemize it.
Definitely. And I guess like in business, right? A lot of it's got to do with the numbers and measurement of things and tracking stuff. So how can we measure this, right? Like in terms of, is it just having certain KPIs beforehand, then we're implementing these
metrics and KPI is not my strong suit. I have someone on my team do that. When I can't do something, I think, can I, in a reasonable amount of time, in a way that doesn't distract my focus, my most valuable thing, my time and my focus, from more profitable and leverageable things? Can I learn this without doing that? If the answer is no, I hire someone to do it. I have people doing that for me.
Yeah, awesome. It's a great thing with business, right? Delegate what you're not as good at and what people are better at. And just quickly, AI is obviously getting up a lot of now. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about where AI
walked right into this. We actually have an AI for my seduction dating stuff. I just plugged it. So I did an interview with someone on YouTube. She's a YouTube influencer by the name of Pearl Davis. And I wore a t-shirt with the name, the URL of the AI across my t-shirt. Yeah, AI is giving me the opportunity to retire from the whole seduction dating thing because I've loved it. But after 30 years, and I've saved and changed thousands of lives, having people ask you the same questions over and over and over and over. And I never quit because I thought, who's going to help these guys if I don't? And my business partner came along, my dear friend Dustin, who's like a brother to me. He said, I need to show you this thing called ChatGPT. This was a year and a half ago. And I thought, wait, that's a person on the other end typing. He said, no, this is artificial intelligence. He said, right now, you are Blockbuster Video. You don't know what Blockbuster Video is, but it was a video store. Do you know what Blockbuster?
We had Blockbuster. I remember. Yeah.
It made it to Australia.
Yep.
Well, it was everywhere. He said, you're Blockbuster. You can be Blockbuster or you could be Netflix. I thought, I'm going to put my ego aside and be Netflix. And sure enough, that's what I'm doing with the AI. I would give it out, but it would offend too many of your, it's just totally off topic. I can't do it. I'll tell you off the air what it is.
Yeah, awesome. Do you think it's going to impact the way sales happens now, right? In terms of this subconscious
Yes.
things like that as
yes. Well? No, not in that aspect, but I think AI, no one really entirely knows where it's going, entirely knows. It's just like the invention of the internet. I'm old enough to remember going to a marketing conference, and the internet was just dawning. It was 1990. And one of them said, well, I advise caution. This could just be a fad. And a lot of us, I don't know if it was me at the time, it was a long time ago. A lot of us thought that way, thought it was a fad. So I think AI is going to come along. Anyone who's in the software business, programmers, coders, unless they're high level coding. I had a student come out, funny story. He was coming out for help with women, and he turned out to be an IT person, someone in the internet technology business. And I said, I got to show you Chat GPT. It writes code. It'll write a script in Python. He said, it'll probably write a code that's inelegant or unelegant and not very functional. That's way too long. I could probably do it much better in 15 minutes. I said, I'll bet you $10. It'll do a better job than you in 15 seconds. He said, you're on. I said, write a script in Python for a squeeze page that has a video and text and blah, 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 and space to put a name and phone number and blah, blah. Spit it out in 15 seconds. He said, let me look. He said, oh, that's really good. That would take me about an hour. So
Yeah.
who knows the applications of where this is going to go. What I will say is I think the potential for, this is not my forte, my wheelhouse. Really, you shouldn't even be talking to me about it. I don't know much about it. I just know I'm using it to make money.
That's it. And that's all it is, right? I think no one's necessarily an expert and it's all very new, but I think it's an interesting topic to see how you've already started applying it. And I think that's the key message that I want to get to people is have a play. How can you apply it to things? Where do you have a lot of information? Like you've been asked 1,000 questions that are similar to yourself that you can, automate those things or other ways, I think is the key message here, for everybody. So yeah, that's awesome on that there. So let's talk about your book. You showed one just before. I know you've got your book, Subtle Words That Sell, as well. How to get your prospects to convince themselves to buy and top dollars to your bottom line. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that book and
this is the new one, The Subconscious Sales Advantage.
Cool.
I love my earlier book, but it's so dense that people just couldn't finish it. So this book is designed to be read in about 40 minutes. It'll teach you 3 practical ideas and give you 3 practical word for word examples you can use to increase your sales by close to or more than 30% in 90 days. You can get it on Amazon, but if you don't want to wait and you want to get a free PDF download, you following me?
Yep.
Go to paulrossbook.com, where you'll also get a 15-minute video training on how to use Neuro Linguistic Programming to destroy objections. I call it my Rapid Sales Accelerator. So if you want to grab my Rapid Sales Accelerator, which is a PDF copy of this book, and the brief video training on crushing objections, go to paulrossbook.com.
Awesome. Definitely check that book.
Or you can get it on Amazon. Order it on Amazon.
And if
You'll see at the end the opportunity to apply to work with me. I only work with teams and entrepreneurs and businesses that are doing at least $1 million a year. I am planning on starting a group program, a group coaching program for people who are not at that level. So go ahead and apply. I will reach out to you, even if you're not at the $1 million level. I'll still reach out to you and tell you how you can get on the waiting list for when that program launches in about 60 days. We're doing this on March. What's today's date? March.
Yeah, 28th for you, 29th for me. Yeah.
March 28th here and March 29th, 2024. So in about 60 days, I'll be launching the group program, which will be well affordable for people.
Nice. And yeah, by the time this comes out, it'll probably be around a similar time anyway. So definitely take action straight away on that and get involved. And it sounds like a very amazing book, The Subconscious Sales Advantage. Obviously, if you want the physical, you can get it on Amazon. Otherwise, just go to paulrossbook.com and you can get the free PDF and training and that in there, which is awesome. So Yeah, powerful here. I guess just quickly, you know, we do a lot of coaching, mentoring, training. I'd love to hear from your perspective how important coaching, mentoring has been for you in business, and you know what it's helped you do.
I've invested, not spent. Spent is when you go to the movies. Investment is when you do something that improves your finances, your health, your relationships. I have 2 coaches right now. I've had got so many. I have my trainer who's sort of my health coach because she works me out. Poor girl, bless her heart. She had to put her dog down after that she had for 13 years. She's just devastated. So I'm training myself this weekend. I have a trainer, but she also cooks my meals. So I have a coach, I have trainers, I have my naturopathic doctors. I'm 65 years old. I don't look it, I don't feel it. So I have trainers. The bottom line, beyond the frame of a coach, put a larger frame around it is your team. Who do you want to have on your bus? Do you want Who do you want on your bus, relationship wise, business wise, finances wise, health wise? There's a book about that. Get the right people on the bus and then we'll worry about where the bus is going to be going.
Yeah, I love that. Completely agree. I've got multiple coaches and mentors and had over the years as well. And it is an investment and it's a shortcut and help you to get the results, you know, a lot quicker. And yeah, it's been very powerful today. And as we're starting to wrap up here, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
Remember, you're never selling your product or service. You're always selling decisions and good feelings about decisions. And as you mysteriously, naturally, wonderfully, quickly, rapidly find yourself deciding to go to Amazon.com and or paulrossbook.com, I can't be the one to say all the reasons you might find yourself feeling so good that you're going to do so, and in fact are already on Amazon right now.
I love that. Practice what he preaches and making it happen there with the book and everything else. And so important.
And don't you love my Batman painting?
Definitely. Very cool, mate. It's I love it. You know, very
And look right there. Do you recognize who that is?
not as much. Who's that?
Tom Cruise.
Oh, Tom Cruise. Nice.
Tom Cruise played my character, Ross Jeffries, in the movie Magnolia. Ross Jeffries is my dating seduction persona.
Ah, there you go. I love that. Yeah, Tom's done a lot of awesome movies over the years. And yeah, we connected through our networks and learned about your awesome journey from you know, persuasion, from being the president of Persuasion Mastery Systems and now being the CEO and head trainer of Subtle Words That Sell. Awesome guy, so knowledgeable in this space. I'm sure you continue to help entrepreneurs, professional salespeople, sales leaders, and business owners skyrocket their results through the power of subconscious communication. Very grateful that we connected and look forward to working with you. So, Paul, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Again, if you want to find out, if you want to apply to work with me, it's in the back of my book. And it's the back of the downloadable copy of the book. You can do that. If you're already certain, just like totally certain you want to work with me and you're doing more than $1 million a year, you want to skip to the head of the line, email me, paul@speakerpaulross.com. But please, if you're making under $1 million a year and you're not profitable, can't help you because you won't be able to pay me the way I'm compensated. Excuse me, I'm compensated.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right. We'll definitely check Paul out there, you know, where you're at and, you know, get copies of his book and everything else like that. Very powerful. And it's been a pleasure interviewing you, mate. And thank you for being on my show.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancassiotis.com. If you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way you know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.